Hello, sportsmen. In the next half hour, I'm going to take you fishing. Well, now, actually, a couple of school teachers, Dave Leonard and Rich Moffett, are going to take you fishing on Michigan's largest inland lake, one that some anglers find difficult. But Dave and Rich will show us how to catch Houghton Lake walleye using some really basic techniques. Now, you sit back, ride along with me as Rich and Dave show us how walleye fishing is done by a couple of practical sportsmen.
I work with a very impressionable age of kid, so I have to straight arrow it all the way. And I'll tell you what, my kids are so excited.
Why is Dave Leonard telling me that he has to portray a straight arrow image? Because he's a teacher and football coach in a junior high school in southwestern Lower Michigan, and he knows his kids will be watching this show. He also knows that I have a fishing license that I bought months before this trip, but I left it at home. I asked Rich and Dave if I should fish, and we had quite a discussion. Dave said I shouldn't because not carrying my license is a law violation. We headed to the middle of Houghton Lake to videotape a fishing story where I would not catch a fish. The cameras would be on Rich Moffett and Dave Leonard, who invited me on this trip. So, Dave, I think you did some of the emails to contact me about coming up here.
Yes, I did.
So why? What's so hot about this place?
Well, you know, I think it's an outstanding fishery for just the average everyday fisherman that wants to come out, catch a few walleyes. Now, you're probably not going to catch the big lunkers you do on Saginaw Bay or in some of the big water fisheries, but you're going to catch fish. And for a lot of people that like to catch a few walleye to eat, you know, take a few, maybe bring the kids out, bring your wife and family out. This is an outstanding fishery, as you can see. You're always going to catch a little bit of something. So I thought, hey, you know, why not do a show where people that wanted to do a little walleye fishing with their family would have a chance to see that.
Let's go down, Matt, and see here what Houghton Lake has. These deck boats are really nice for fishing. Not many people use them for fishing boats.
Pull the pail? Oh, there it is. Right there.
You lost the fish? Oh, these are the fish here. Oh, okay. You got some perch that aren't huge.
No, they're small.
Oh, hold it. We're coming up with a pumpkin seed here that is really nice. And it looks like there's a smallmouth in here. Well, that's dandy. How long did it take you to get these?
Oh, a couple hours. We probably caught over 100 perch out there, but a lot of little ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm congratulations on all the little fish, but I'm going fishing with Willis now, and we're going to catch a lot bigger. That's
Keep him or let him go.
Well, it's up to you. You're the captain.
Just let him go. See, I told you that's your spot.
That's the spot? So should we be fishing on that side of the weeds?
I don't know. It's just...
But this lake is Michigan's largest inland lake.
Yes.
I mean, it's huge. It doesn't have the kind of structure that other lakes have with drop-offs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
How the heck do you go about fishing it?
Well, you know, you're fishing with a couple of teachers here. And I'm going to use a word that some of the kids out there, and maybe even some adults who've been out there for a while, might not like to hear. Homework. If you're going to fish a lake, or any lake like this, we've heard the pros talk about it, but you have to do your homework first before you come out. There's a readily available map that's out there called Fishing Hotspots. It does a pretty accurate job of depicting where some of the better fishing points of the lake are. Take a look at the map, call some of the local bait shops. If you're fortunate as we are to have some folks that live on the lake, talk to them about where the good spots are, and then just get out and fish it. Get out and do it. But I'll tell you, one thing about this lake that we found, it's pretty hard to go wrong if you find some weed beds and you find some decent spots like that. You're going to catch a few walleye.
If you find some weed beds.
Yeah.
What do you mean, if? This lake is full of weed beds.
That's correct. And you know, not all weed beds are made the same, though, as we found out today. There's going to be some drop-offs. You know, you're going to look for weed beds adjacent to some deep water. Now, deep water on this lake is, you know, 12 feet, 14 feet of water. Walleye like that type of thing. Depending upon the time of year, too, as I'm sure Rich will tell you, you know, that it's seasonal patterns that you're going to be working with. Right now, we're in the middle of a late summer pattern, and we're fishing off of weed beds in fairly deep water, 14, 15 feet of water, and we connected with a few. We didn't knock their socks off, but I think we had a pretty good time.
Man.
Look at that monster. All right.
Oh, that's a nice one.
That'll work.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, she's taking drag. Hold on, Ma.
Okay.
Tighten up my drag a little bit.
That'll work.
Thank you.
That works.
That'll eat.
That's just
I
15.
think it'll
I'll
just
put it-
make 15, but you know.
Well, we got seven.
7.
Seven.
And actually 9, we released 2.
Now, how does that stack up as an average day for you guys out here? Is
Down. It's a down day. Yeah, it is. Normally, in on a good day, we'll take anywhere from 12 to 14 for 3 guys.
3 guys fishing 2 rods each?
Correct. Usually.
So what is this 2-rod thing? You guys working 2 rods like crazy. You look like ice fishermen out here.
Well, we're working a pattern, actually, is what we're doing. We're fishing 1 rod actively and another rod with a dead rod system. You'll see we were either dragging a jig and crawler or we're sending out a slip float out there. And you know, it was funny because that's our bread and butter. A lot of times that slip float will be the golden rod. It'll be taking fish left and right during the day, and you'll pick a few off with your Erie Dearies or your jigs or your crawler harnesses. Today was a little bit different, you know, but you never can tell, but you're always going to increase your odds by trying 2 different presentations. And if you notice, we always mix the baits. We didn't go with leeches. We usually leeches, crawlers, or some combination till you find out what they want that day.
Well, these 3 rigs that you have right here, you got, now this is your Erie Deary. Is this an actual Erie Deary?
That is an actual Erie Deary.
It's the actual. Okay, and that you just put a crawler or a leech on.
Correct.
Tie right to your line.
Correct.
And it of course, it goes through the water with the hook up.
Correct.
Hopefully grabbing on the fewest number of weeds. It has the spinner, action, and sound, plus that sound thunking on the bottom. And you say this is a real killer here in this lake.
Normally, that is a standard in this lake, and you know, it's the same pattern like they used on Lake Erie in the 70s when it was murky. You throw it out there into the weed beds, you count her down, 6, 7, or 8, and you just start feeling and pulling her through. Get that blade spinning, nice, easy reel ratio, and then all of a sudden, whenever it stops, be it weed or be it fish, set the hook. And normally, that does the trick. Once again, today, you know, it could have been that we had the early storms this morning, but that pattern wasn't working. So we had to switch to more of a finesse pattern.
Something along the lines of this. I mean, this is a small jig. I mean, they use huge jigs on the Detroit River compared to this.
Right.
And you probably use huge jigs in a lot of your other fishing compared to this.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty much standard for a 16th ounce to an 1/8 ounce jig maybe, depending upon what kind of a push we're getting. Now, we had 6-mile-an-hour winds today, so we really weren't zipping across the lake. The idea is you want to get something down there that'll make bottom contact but still sort of fish through those weeds. You know, you can do a lot of popping. And one mistake a lot of guys make is they try to yank that whole thing out as soon as they contact a weed. Now, I caught a couple here today just popping it off the weed, and as it's coming back down, pow! You know, he came right up and socked it.
Get it on the crawler?
Yeah, another one on the
Oh,
crawler.
nice walleye. Nice walleye.
Look him down, look him down.
Keep him down.
Go on the spitter.
Okay.
Get that net over there. Taking him clean, good job.
Okay.
Good job.
There it is.
Nice fish.
Yep, that's almost a carbon copy of the last one.
Whacking them and stacking them, to coin a phrase.
So that's what we use. Funny thing, even with the Erie Dearies, is now they're harder to find, but 1/4 ounce, a little bit lighter, seems to be a little bit better. It's probably the drop rate that they like, something a little bit slower, but that's what's been effective for us.
And you drift primarily.
Primarily, we drift. That's correct. Sometimes we'll put the electric down, and we will we'll move around and try to stay in one spot. But we've never anchored on the lake. Usually, it's a drift bite. You know, you find them and fish through them.
And you're looking for the deeper holes. I mean, I noticed we started this morning off one of the sunken islands out here, where you can see the weeds right on top of the water. We're out in almost the middle of the lake. There's 1.5 to 2 feet of water.
Right.
And we started in that.
Right. Right. We started. That's once again where you do your homework. You know, you're going to consult your maps. You're going to take into account wind direction, like we did this morning. We had east-southeast, and it became a pretty strong south wind. And we tried to fish the side of the hump that the wind was blowing into, because that's where the walleyes are going to be congregating and feeding on whatever bait is being blown in that direction. Now, I've read, and I'm not sold on the idea yet, that walleyes always face into the wind. They always turn their noses into the wind, It would make sense only if the structure is there for the walleye to have something to feed on, because they're like any other creature. They're going to ambush feed.
So obviously they're not facing the wind. The wind is pushing the water, and they're facing into the current.
Correct.
In other words.
Correct.
Okay, well, what about this crawler harness here? We didn't use too much of the crawler harness deal today.
Now, we fish those in a little bit of a unique way. I think most people will tie those on to bottom bouncers and slow troll. We do that occasionally here. Now, we told
Bottom bouncers?
Yes, we do.
With these weeds?
Yes. Now, remember we told you there's 2 sandsucker holes here. They're about 20 feet deep. If you get a cold front that moves in and they really get lethargic, sometimes you can scrape a few out by taking that bottom bouncer and going through those deep holes, because they'll go belly to the bottom occasionally. But what we normally do with those is use a couple of split shot and just keep enough weight to tick that spinner over the top of the weeds, and you'll catch a few walleye that way too. Rich popped a few that way this morning.
So you know there's
Did you let them drag? Oh, you got a nice fish. You got a nice fish.
pikey.
You got a nice fish. He's staying down like a big northern. I haven't seen him yet. No, yeah, he's an eye. He's a good eye.
Wow.
Easy does her. Yeah, he's a good eye. Good walleye. Get her up there a little bit. Don't horse him off, because you got him just in the corner of the mouth. Get him to me.
Get him.
Oh,
Nice job,
didn't get
coach.
Get him up here, bud. Head first. Bring him up. Got him. There's a nice eye.
Oh, there he is. Yes.
That's a nice walleye.
All right. Good
Get
job,
out.
Chief. Good job.
So you know there are places in the state that you can catch bigger walleye. I mean, like you said, Saginaw Bay, and
Sure.
geez, there's a number of rivers, and Detroit River. You can, pop 6-pounders, 8-pounders. But you like to come back here.
Correct. Well, we like to consume. We like to eat a little bit of fish. And those 15, 16 inchers are just perfect for consuming. Now, if you want to go for a trophy, that's great. And we'll go fish. We fished some of those waters before and tried. And like everybody else, we got that dream of putting the big one on the wall. And hopefully someday we will. But really what we want to focus in is a practical aspect. And that is day in, day out enjoyment of catching a few fish, having some good company, being able to take your family out and enjoy a day. And that's what this is all about.
Well, except that we're not here with our families.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Well, now, unfortunately, what a mob that would be in this boat. We'd all be at each other's necks. I mean, that is not practical to do.
No, we'd have to bring out the armada. And,
Yeah.
and we've done that on occasion. As a matter of fact, some of our fondest memories, good times that we shared as families have been under those circumstances where we have 4 or 5 boats out, family and friends, and just having a real nice time catching a few fish and giving each other the business.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
probably
perch
what you
right
did.
there.
Let's go first.
This is just a monster perch, I can tell.
Who gives who the business? Even Matt Radzalowski jumps in from behind the camera to stick the fork in Rich for his magnificent perch.
Hold it up, Rich.
You like that?
If that wasn't enough, Dave gave Rich a little knock on the noggin.
Tell you what, I didn't set the hook very well.
Thanks, Dave.
There we go. That's it.
I sure needed
I
that.
didn't set the hook very well.
Well, that wasn't on purpose, of course, but Rich Moffett is used to getting the business and giving the business. That's part of the fun of fishing and why we enjoy it so much. Much.
Bring him in.
Set her very well.
There we go.
Yep.
Want me to set him there for a second, Matt?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Oh, I'm just kidding. That's my seat.
Sorry about that, bud.
Right by
Rich
the-
Moffett and Dave Leonard know what the fun of fishing is all about, and it's not just filling the live well full of fish to eat later. Now, that's important, and it's practical. But there's another form of practical that I appreciate. We know it as the practical joke. What is this all about?
Fred, this is a boat fender.
Boat fender, right there. You hang alongside the boat to...
You betcha. That was given to us as a gift, and it's kind of become a fixture in our boat. We've had times where we've caught fish and somebody will move, within feet of us. And so what we'll do at times is, we'll veer off maybe 50 yards to the right, and we'll throw like a lure, like a beano that has, put some action on your rod. And, we'll bring it up and throw this into the net and scoop it up. And you know, we'll hold it up to the people. So I think we caught a whopper. Then next thing you know, they're over there where we want them. Then we're back on our hot spot. And we've done this a number of times.
Oh my, that's very realistic looking, especially from a distance. Hold it up like that. That's pretty cool. And you don't think that's a rotten trick to play on other fishermen, huh?
Oh yeah, it is. And we enjoy it.
Every now and then we run across a lake that's full of walleye, but nobody knows about it. This is one of those lakes. After 5 years of stocking, the walleye in Lake Leelanau are abundant. Not many big ones. Most of them run about 15 inches, but to the minds of walleye pros Mark Martin and Gary Roach, a walleye lake like this will be worth coming back to in the years ahead. Both of these guys have won national walleye titles with some very simple ways of fishing. Jigs, plastic skirts with some live bait for taste. So you run a twister tail and a crawler?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not a twister tail, just a squid tail.
Well, a squid tail.
And then piece of crawler.
Okay. How big of a piece?
Well, what I usually do, I just put them on like this, just a little bit like that, and I just come out about an inch
Oh, so
by
you're
the
gonna...
band. That's all you need.
Okay, so you let it hang over.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
Now, what if the fish takes this end? You told me that sometimes you just put a morsel on.
Now they'll take the whole thing now because there's no end. There's not much of an end for them to grab.
So this is enough.
Yeah, just enough that they can smell it.
But if you ran a whole crawler longer, that's where you'd want the stinger hook.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The bigger crawler.
What if, and it will happen, you know, we pull this jig up, and the end of the crawler is bitten off.
Probably a perch.
Okay, but now do you put it back down with just the crawler on the hook, or do you rebait with a...
Sometimes I rebait. You know, if you're in a lot of fish, if there's walleyes are there and a good school of them there, sometimes I'll put it right back down because it's still got that smell there.
So the smell is extremely important.
Yeah, the nightcrawler smell is really, you know.
Okay, well we're running some different rigs here.
Yeah.
I got two walleye masters in the boat. Mark Martin, Gary Roach. I'm fishing right in the middle of them with their equipment, their rigs. I have no excuses.
We got you.
I can't take the pressure, Gary. I can't take the pressure.
We got you in the middle. That's great.
Learning walleye fishing.
Now we've got probably the worst possible walleye day today.
Why?
It's flat, dead calm. The fish, we're seeing a few fish. There's nothing, no action, much going on. It's, you know, when there's no wind, it's really a tough day for walleye fishing.
So you like a little ripple on the water?
Oh yeah, I like a little chop.
Now, your jigging technique. I mean, you're keeping that baby moving all
Yeah,
the time. up
traction,
and down,
yeah.
Up and down.
I bring it up so what happens is, I'll show you here in the water. And I'll see if we can get it here. In fact, see, I've got a weed on right here. I've got to take that off. What I'm doing is, see that? I'm not really jigging it more than 6, 8, maybe 10 inches, see? But it's enough to resemble something injured down there that's falling,
Okay.
see?
Like,
And I follow it back down. I just don't jig it and drop it like that. A lot of people jig it and they just drop the line
and
free.
let the line slacken.
Follow it back down.
So
You'll
you don't.
tick it on the way down.
So the idea, if you can do it, is you don't let the line slacken after you pull up.
No.
You sort of hold it tight and go down the same speed that it's falling.
Exactly.
Well, I followed their instructions to the T, but right off the bat, they caught the fish.
Beautiful color water.
Within minutes of dropping their jigs into 16 feet of water, both Gary Roach and Mark Martin hooked walleye. And within 20 minutes, Gary had caught 3 and Mark had boated 5. Fishing involves a lot of luck, okay? But there's something about fishing with Gary Roach and Mark Martin when they catch fish all around you. You have a touch.
Every once in a while.
Remember, I was fishing between these guys, imitating what they were doing, but not catching a thing.
I don't know.
Rocky the bass, the red eye, goggle eye. In this lake, they're good eating.
Gary, this is the time when you're out with another fisherman trying to teach him to fish that you have to deal with the problem of what's called fishing depression. No, you're laughing. I'm getting psychologically down. I don't think I'm going to catch a fish for a week.
No,
How much does attitude play in this?
I get that way myself once in a while. When
Do ya?
you get somebody in the boat that's catching fish.
And you think
then sometimes you're trying to fish too fast, and then what I try to do is slow down a little bit. You know, just let it hit the bottom. Boom. Like that. No, hit the bottom. There, I'm finally on the bottom. I'm always fishing too far off the bottom.
Well, maybe that was it. Maybe I was trying too hard and pulling my jig too far off the bottom.
I'm just kidding. We're seeing lots of bait here. This lake is just totally full of shiners. They must be on a good spawning run now.
There we go.
Told you.
There we go. Oh, do
Hey.
I have the touch now?
Told you.
Here, Mark, you want to land this one? Yeah. Gary?
No, you go right ahead.
Well, I needed this fish really bad just to prove to myself that I wasn't a jinx, that I could do it. And I did.
Okay. That's a keeper. Almost a keeper.
Is that a walleye?
This is a walleye. I'm now
Oh.
open for giving advice on walleye fishing.
It doesn't take me long to get my confidence back, does it? And it was funny. I caught the next 3 walleye. My confidence was back.
Look at this.
Fred.
Huh? Excuse me for getting in your way, Fred. You know?
Yes. Seems to me I've caught 2 fish and you guys haven't caught anything.
Oh, listen to this now.
Listen to this.
Huh?
Mark, let's get on.
There's tons of them down there. Come on, guys, get with it.
Well, these guys got me using a simple technique, but it's important to mark walleye on a flasher. They're the marks right off the bottom in 16 feet or so, or mark them on an electronic graph.
You know what? Why this spot is so good here along this area right here? We've caught fish here every day for the last 4 days. Is because of the big food shelf. Look at the shoreline there.
Big sandbar out there.
You know, but the distance between here and the sandbar means it's a drop off, and it slowly comes out, and it creates a big food shelf. And the wider the food shelf from the sand pile, or you might say, or the drop off, the more fish you're going to have using it.
So you really don't want to have a sharp drop off.
Smallmouth like that, and occasional spring walleye, but in the summertime, the walleye like a longer tapering one. Then she drops off from like about 17 feet to 35. So if you get your second drop off, where the fish can go out in the deeper water, in this clear water, and then in the evening they come up and they got a big food shelf here to feed on. This is why this is such a good spot.
Biggest one of the day?
I'd say it was the biggest one of the day. Oh, that's a nice. Look at that, huh?
Gary Roach and Mark Martin boated many more of these Lake Leelanau walleye than I did, but if you're keeping score, does it count if the fish touches the boat?
Oh! Doesn't count, does it?
You got to get them in the boat.
I
before you
touched
play
the
with
boat. The fish touched the boat.
But we've got some real interesting stories coming up on how you can have more fun fishing with very simple methods and not a lot of expensive equipment. I'll also be showing you how and why an RV can make your fishing more fun and better. See, the idea is to get outdoors because it's a great place to be. See you next week. Rich Moffett and Dave Leonard know what the fun of fishing is all about, and it's not just filling the live well full of fish to eat later. Now, that's important, and it's practical. But there's another form of practical that I appreciate. We know it as the practical joke. What is this all about?
Fred, this is a boat fender.
Boat fender, right there. You hang alongside the boat to...
You betcha. That was given to us as a gift, and it's kind of become a fixture in our boat. You know, we've had times where we've caught fish and somebody will move, you know, within feet of us. And so what we'll do at times is, you know, we'll veer off maybe 50 yards to the right, and we'll throw like a lure, like a Beano that has, you know, put some action on your rod. And, you know, we'll bring it up and throw this into the net and scoop it up, and, you know, we'll hold it up to the people. So I think we caught a whopper. Then next thing you know, they're over there where we want them, and then we're back on our hot spot. And we've done this a number of times.
Oh my, that's very realistic looking, especially from a distance. Hold it up like that. That's pretty cool. And you don't think that's a rotten trick to play on other fishermen, huh?
Oh yeah, it is. And we enjoy it.